let's talk about the Iran situation. And I want to take a two-pronged approach here. First is to discuss the numerous problems, hypocrisies, lies, and downright insanity going on right now. But then also to approach with some solutions, right? Because it gets boring and cliche to just be the eternal pessimist and, everybody's stupid and I'm a genius and I know everything. But anytime you're going to complain, you should also propose an improvement, a solution, something better. So that's what we can do in the second half of the video. So getting into the problems, it's hard to know where to start, right? Like from the blatant hypocrisy of the average Trump supporter right now, literally not having thoughts of their own, just purely supporting literally whatever Trump does. That's a spectacle unto itself and has been just more evidence that the average person just does not think for themselves. That's whatever. You see that constantly. You see that on all sides of the political spectrum, everywhere and always, not just beating up on Trumpers or Republicans or whatever. I've commented on that before, and it's like, okay, fine. We see that same pattern. You've also got the obvious war mongering in the media, like Fox News, which more or less exists solely to sell war to insanely gullible boomers at this point. Like you look at the headlines for Fox News, and at this point, they're just raw clickbait, right? Like they literally use all caps. Like I saw one that said like, U.S. military launches rare nighttime raid. It's just daytime soap opera television for retired men at this point, to rally some sanction for the war, some support. Anyways, again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. At this point, we all understand that the media just will lap up whatever shit that the political class spills out before them, and it's insanely partisan, and it's enough to make the average person sick. Not to mention, the pure partisanship, the whiplash of changing perspectives. Like take Donald Trump for a second. In 2011, he was criticizing Obama, saying that Obama is going to go to war in Iran because he's a horrible negotiator and a weak leader, and he's going to use it as a distraction from his failures to try to get reelected and save face, because war is, always a way to paint the leader as a strong president. And then, of course, in 2013, Trump posted on social media in all caps. He said, going into the Middle East was the worst decision ever made. So, and here we are now, like what was supposed to be the swift, decisive action by the day at this point is clearly stretching out into who knows how long of a conflict. Like everyone and their brother is now taking up arms, moving into the region. All of these sub-conflicts are spawning, all of these alliances are awakening. And that's the thing about war. It's like you can't control it. You don't know what's going to happen. And very, very quickly, things just escalate into this endless tit for tat where we almost forget like what the original purpose was. Like, do you think that Putin intended for Ukraine to turn into this multi-year bloodbath? No, I don't think he did. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to him because he's not spending his own money. He's not personally responsible for the disaster he created. And that's another really important perspective is like, ask yourself this question, like, what responsibility should political rulers face for lying their way into war? Or for wars going completely sideways? Like, should they be personally on the hook? Should they be financially responsible? Like when a school gets blown up with over 100 little girls in it, which recently happened as a result of this conflict, should anybody like be held responsible for that, for instigating this conflict? Because what they always end up saying is, well, yeah, war is hell, but that's just the way things are. That's just collateral. It's so easy to say when it's not your own fucking kid getting blown up. People just have this, I'm just going to save my breath as far as that goes. You already know what I'm going to say. It's like, it's so easy to sacrifice other people's kids and other people's money. So from a big picture standpoint, we're not seeing anything new here. What we're seeing is like a country, the United States, spending money it doesn't have, indebting future generations, enriching the military-industrial complex, all based on either outright lies or half-truths of a situation which is utterly chaotic that the public can't possibly keep up with, nor do they have the knowledge and information to make informed decisions on, with the public being robbed to fund. And when you look at the financial, like the insane financials of the situation, like how little Iran is spending and how much the United States is spending, you would think that like our leaders are utterly incompetent. And in many ways they are. But another perspective, another way to look at it is simply to realize that actually this is kind of exactly what they want. You know, if you take a little bit more pessimistic perspective, you realize that, hey, the military-industrial complex, right, the weapons manufacturers, they love this. This is the best thing that could possibly happen for them because they're getting these enormous orders for missiles at like $5 million a pop. They couldn't be happier to see this kind of thing happening. And, you know, when you realize that it's actually the tail wagging the dog, right? The military manufacturing companies are the ones influencing these decisions. That is when it all kind of makes sense. That's when it all sort of clicks into place. You know, kind of like if you view the world through one perspective versus another, you know, when you finally stop giving somebody the benefit of the doubt and you realize that they're a narcissist or a habitual liar, everything all of a sudden like makes so much more sense under that lens. And the same exact thing was true when people thought that the Earth was the center of the solar system and the equations to model the motion of the various stars and planets was like really, really complex. But then as soon as people looked at it from another perspective and they realized like, oh, hold on a minute, the Earth is the center of the solar system, everything got a hell of a lot simpler. Everything just all of a sudden made sense. So similarly, when you realize like, oh, hold on a minute, like war is actually the goal. War is the health of the state. War benefits the people who are in charge of the state. They get more power, they get more money, their friends get more money. Yeah, it doesn't benefit the average taxpayer, doesn't benefit the unborn taxpayer, right? But so again, it's like systems thinking. You can't just assume that political rulers have the best interests of their subjects in mind. If they did, they wouldn't be robbing them. They wouldn't be violating their consent every single day. So anyways, let's take a minute here and try to, like I said, let's try to propose solutions instead of just being the perennial whiner and complainer. Well, if you've been listening to me for any length of time, you'll realize my perspective is voluntarism, is let's stop robbing people. Let's abide by property rights and the non-aggression principle. Now, people will always ask the question like, well, how would you handle the situation without a government, without a state? How could we possibly handle evil people, you know, bad actors, governments who are murdering their own citizens, et cetera, blah, blah, blah? Well, I'm more than happy to answer that question. From a high-level perspective, the first answer to that is supply and demand, because there is a demand for security and prosperity and stability in the world. Like people don't want to live under the boot of a government. They don't want to be in fear of their lives all the time. People want to get rid of these bad actors, right? Because certainly the leader of Iran, who is now dead, and the military of Iran and all the people who are doing his bidding, they're all horrendously evil pieces of shit. So like, make no mistake. I don't want people to think that because I'm against the state, the United States enacting war, that doesn't mean that like I think the Iranian government is cool and awesome and we should just leave them alone to, murder people and repress people and do whatever the fuck they want, their religious insanity. That's definitely not the case. All I'm saying, all that voluntarists are saying is, you can go kill whatever despot and tyrant you want, just do it on your own dime. Right? You're not allowed to rob people to take care of these things. Now, again, there exists a demand, especially from people who are in closer proximity to these threats, right? So yeah, Iran, religious fanatics. And by the way, I'm not saying like all Iranian people. I'm saying like the tiny minority of people in the state, right? Because like the vast majority of Iranian average people just want to live their lives. They're peaceful. They're just want to be left the hell alone. like pretty much everyone else on earth, 99.99999% of people. It's the state, which is pitting us all against each other and fucking everything up. And then you've got the gullible voters who get swept up in the drama and want to go along with it. But in any case, like, it is not a stretch whatsoever, this notion that, like, hey guys, we can have free market actors, we can have, whether it's companies or mercenaries or whatever, you name it, like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going in and killing or taking care of dictators. Like, yeah, they should be disposed of. They should be shot in their sleep. And there should be bounties put on their head. There's a lot more efficient ways to do that. Like, I mean, and how many more examples do you need of, like, the free market being vastly more efficient than the government? It's literally just one more thing. Like, why do people have such a hard time extending that principle? Like, oh, well, we have, free market grocery stores, and we have free market technology, and we have free market, building of homes, and, free market, like, so many things, yet we can't possibly have a free market when it comes to school and roads, things which the government spends enormously on and the results suck. We can't have, free market charity. We've got to have this wildly inefficient welfare state. And we can't have free market defense services, protection and insurance and all of that jazz. We've got to have the government do it. And again, spend enormously, have like wild amounts of corruption behind the scenes, and like enormous numbers of people getting killed in the process, innocent people. Like, again, to the point I made earlier, like what should be the punishment for political rulers who lie to get into war, or who just incompetently handle the situation and end up getting people killed? Like, that is a grave situation where people need to be held accountable for their actions. There needs to be accountability. People need to be spending their own money. That's how you bring accountability to a situation. Does that mean it's going to be perfect in a free market, in a anarcho-capitalist society? No, of course not. Nothing can be perfect in this world. There's going to be fuck-ups. There's going to be mistakes. But when you give a certain class of people, called the state, power to steal and power to initiate force against others, why would you expect anything different? Why would you expect that they're not going to make an utter mess of the situation, get innocent people killed, enrich themselves in the process? Like, to expect anything different is pure insanity. You see so many examples over and over and over again. Why can't you universalize that principle? Okay, that's my rant. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.